Welcome to the pharmaphorum podcast. This is web editor Nicole Raleigh, and today I have with me Punit Dhillon, who is CEO of Skye Bioscience, and we'll be having a conversation on CB1 inhibitor antibodies in the obesity space. Welcome, Punit.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Nicole. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today.
Now, pharmacological blockers of the cannabinoid receptor type 1, or CB1, have been considered for a long time as the holy grail of obesity pharmacotherapy. And CB1 inhibition is an approach that taps into the body's natural metabolism to burn fat while preserving muscle for more sustainable weight loss. Unlike GLP-1s, which suppress appetite, CB1 inhibition activates fat-burning processes. But before we sink our teeth into this central topic today, Punit, I was wondering if you could introduce yourself a little bit for listeners and describe the journey briefly that led you to doing what you do today at Skye.
Thank you so much. That was a great intro into CB1 as well. We'll get into that. So I've spent over 20 plus years in the life sciences space. Previously, been involved in development of cancer immunotherapy drugs and cancer vaccines, and my career has been basically interesting. We've been at the forefront of different biological mechanisms, I guess you could say, and I think what's been a constant theme is finding kind of new ways to harness them or deliver them. And I joined Skye because I saw a massive disconnect where the science told us that the endocannabinoid system was really the master regulator of metabolism, but the industry has really been scared of entering into that space because of the historical disconnect with rimonabant, which was a previous drug that was that was previously developed for weight loss and then pulled off the market in 2007. So I saw an opportunity with the team about looking at a completely different approach, an antibody approach that physically would stay out of the brain, but still could unlock this fascinating target. And that's where we're at right now. That challenge, turning a failed class into what could be a revolutionary therapy, and that's what drives me in biotech.
Well, an admirable challenge indeed. Thank you for sharing that, Punit. Now, GLP-1 weight loss drugs like semaglutide have taken the world by storm, it goes without saying. But some studies have raised concerns about side effects, including kidney injury and skeletal muscle wastage. They're also known to cause gastrointestinal side effects. So I was wondering if we could have described a little bit more about CB1s in general, please, Punit, providing a brief insight into their history and the moment we're at now with them.
Yeah, so I kind of framed it in the intro about the rimonabant disaster. I also kind of refer to it as the ghost because it keeps coming back. So 20 years ago, a drug called rimonabant proved that blocking CB1 receptors causes massive weight loss, but it was a small molecule, and that small molecule went into the brain. It caused anxiety and depression, and then it was withdrawn, and the field completely went dark. So a lot of the other pharma that was developing drugs in the same target also stopped their entire programs. And then what we've seen in the last since that period, so that was less than 20 years ago, but there's been a renaissance, and it's been a quote unquote peripheral based renaissance. So now with this peripheral renaissance, we know that you can still target the same CB1 receptor, but target outside of the brain. And blocking CB1 in fat tissue, in liver, in muscle drives metabolism, while blocking it in the brain drives mood issues. So we want to basically avoid the brain and hit the body. And what we've been working on is an antibody approach where it's a drug that's called nimacimab. And it's different, and it's different from several critical kind of ways. Most of our most of these current generation peripheral CB1 blockers have been small molecules. So there's actually one being developed by Novo, and there's another in development as well, and which they basically engineered these small molecules to stay or try to avoid the brain, but they sometimes leak through. And that's what was evident in this data that was announced in September of 2024 by Novo, where patients still experienced these mood disturbances, sleep disturbance, anxiety. And so the challenge has been keeping these small molecules out of the brain. Nimacimab, being an antibody, it's a large protein, but roughly 300 times larger than any small molecule. So it's physically limited in terms of crossing over the blood-brain barrier. And it's also designed to be safer in terms of how its mechanism actually engages with the receptor, and it does it differently. So that's kind of a brief history and context of nimacimab.
You provided a very good grounding for my next question, actually, which is to perhaps share with us or dive deeper into Skye's own data on nimacimab and share with us details on what this antibody approach could mean for the obesity and weight loss field. You've given us some tastings of what it could mean, but perhaps you want to share some more specific data.
Yeah, so I think why this target's so fascinating is that it attacks obesity in two fronts, right? One is that it is focused on the specific targets in terms of it's not just like what the GLP-1 drugs do, which are focused on caloric restriction. So this, I would say, we are controlling not only appetite regulating hormones, maybe less as a primary driver like the GLP-1s, but there is a certain encouraging kind of signal that it's linked more towards these other peripheral driven mechanisms. So energy expenditure, for instance, could be stimulated. So by targeting the whole peripheral CB1 tissues like fat cells, liver, muscle, skeletal muscle, we're directly stimulating fat breakdown, and it's increasing this overall glucose uptake. It's enhancing insulin sensitivity, and it's essential because what we're doing is how we've actually framed it it's metabolic rewiring, and it's turning the body from a storage mode to more of a burning mode. So we think that that's really complementary to what's the data that's been shared recently. So jumping to the most, the question that you had in terms of the clinical data and other preclinical data that we have. So our headline data over the last quarter was the first phase 2A data point from our obesity study. And what it revealed is that the combination of GLP-1 and CP1 can really give us an interesting synergistic response. When we added nimacimab to Wegovy, which is semaglutide, patients lost about 13.2% of their weight, compared to only about 10% for Wegovy patients alone. And that's a clinically meaningful difference in terms of showing a significance. Crucially, we saw this kind of added weight loss, this boost of weight loss without any new side effects. And as you put it, earlier, GLP-1s are tough. They're tough on the gut in terms of nausea and vomiting, and nimacimab added basically zero additional GI distress. And importantly, we saw zero neuropsychiatric events in any of these different arms where we measured nimacimab. So it really proves the brain safety thesis that that's been very central to moving this whole class forward. And we have also shared just a few weeks ago some interesting data in terms of the quality aspect of the weight loss. So we're also seeing signals that this mechanism improves the quality of weight loss. GLP-1s can cause muscle loss. CB1 inhibition is known to drive this fat burning and improve insulin sensitivity directly in the tissue. And we believe nimacimab can help patients lose more fat while preserving the muscle that keeps their metabolism healthy. The next phase of kind of what we're looking at is what the follow-on benefits look like. So this data that was shared 2 weeks ago also give us early indication when we followed patients that came off of these different drugs. There was a very interesting benefit of about 18% rebound when they came off of the combination therapy versus about 50% rebound of weight when they came off of the semaglutide therapy. So it paints the picture of where nimacimab is really situated in terms of a combination therapy. But we really believe it's also going to be an essential therapy that helps with overall metabolic health, not just the weight loss component. So we're going to continue assessing this. We have an ongoing extension of the study that we're doing right now for another 26 weeks. So we'll have 52 weeks. And we also learned that can dose higher, and that was potentially the reason why we didn't see as much of an effect in the monotherapy data. So in our 200 milligram monotherapy dose, we didn't see as significant a weight loss as we expected. So the future for us certainly involves higher dosing, which we believe will unlock even greater efficacy, and it still allows us room to consider nimacimab as a standalone option as well. But the combination feature is certainly one that's very exciting because that data stands out.
It is exciting. I like this notion of the metabolic rewiring. You've pretty much hit on all my follow up questions to the data you were sharing, but I did wonder if there will be further study into the rebound effects in nimacimab as a monotherapy.
Yeah, so there's certainly an opportunity that we haven't discounted in terms of the maintenance market. So there are these challenges that we are still witnessing today in the present market, where I think you touched on it in the beginning of the call, where patients still experience a large discontinuation because of adverse events. So there's a growing kind of situation where patients can stay on anti-obesity medication over a longer period, or the goal is to keep them on the therapy, because over a longer period of time is when you realize the benefits of these anti-obesity medications. It isn't very conducive to a start and stop model. And so patients that are intolerant, or they have maybe a suboptimal response, or maybe they're even unresponsive to GLP-1. In fact, like we were saying in data, 16 to 20% of patients may not even be responsive to GLP-1 therapies. So there is this maintenance market that we believe is still a very relevant one. And when you look at the overall pipeline of different products out there, there's only a focus on the incretin class. There's a lot of drugs in development that are GLP-1 based, in other words, and there's very few that are non-incretin based mechanisms. And we believe CB1 is one of those opportunities where it's, again, addressing the fundamental drivers of disease. So increasing energy expenditure, targeting the fat, reducing fat, controlling, insulin. So we really are interested in kind of helping to reestablish these other metabolic pathways, and we believe that this drug can offer a solution. And when we've spoken to doctors, it's very unlikely that doctors are going to prescribe another incretin after a patient potentially comes off of an incretin. So it seems kind of redundant to just give them the same mechanism again. And that's usually not the case if you look across other therapeutic examples. So we believe CB1 being a target as a non-incretin target really offers an interesting paradigm shift for that part of that particular population.
Absolutely. Okay, I have one final question for you today, Puneet. Given everything we've discussed, it's probably going to be a summative response, but the question is, what is the hoped for future horizon, given what you've been describing in terms of this area of R&D?
Yeah, so we're that's a great question. I mean, we're laser focused in terms of advancing the learnings that we just received from the current clinical trial. The current study gave us indication that the dose response is real for nimacimab. So we want to continue to prove that. We've shown actually that in preclinical studies, and for us, the current results have really been limited because of a suboptimal dose. The other side of that is ensuring that the safety margin supports the higher dose, and we feel very strongly about that. So having just generated this data where we feel it has kind of progressed the whole field forward, where this is the first data point that points to no neuropsychiatric signals and a pretty favorable GI profile. It enables the evaluation of the higher doses, and we believe we're well within the safety margins. The next important part of this R&D and overall the development side of R&D is really the commercial feasibility and the combination potential, and we're putting a lot of energy and resources on that, and we're excited about that. So upcoming for us, you can anticipate new data from the current trial, which will be a 52-week data point for the combination study. We'll also have 52-week monotherapy data, and we're also assessing a higher dose cohort in this next 26 weeks, where we've taken the monotherapy dose from 200 milligrams to 300 milligrams. And that'll, again, give us additional information on our overall PK profile and provide us that important bridging to be able to assess these higher doses that we're looking at for the next study.
Fascinating science and exciting possibilities. Thank you very much for your time today, Punit. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Nicole.
That concludes another episode of the pharmaphorum podcast. You can find more information about this episode, including a download link and information about previous installments, at pharmaphorum.com/podcast. The pharmaphorum podcast is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Podbean, and pretty much wherever else you download your podcasts. Just search for pharmaphorum and follow and hit subscribe. Of course, don't forget to visit the website itself, where you can sign up for daily and weekly news and analysis bulletins, and follow us on Blue Sky and LinkedIn at pharmaphorum. That's PharmaPhorum. That's all for now. Thanks for listening.